right.
Question time?
Not question time. We got to do the intro first.
Intro time.
Oh, intro time.
Intro time. How do we intro?
I don't know.
Well, the way we intro is that we welcome our listeners to the MoxStars podcast, the number one podcast on the internet for Magic the Gathering, Dr. Pepper, your Mates.
I won't forget Dr. Pepper this time.
Yeah, we talk about all those things we mentioned in our link tree, which you can check out below. Like, subscribe, comment. We can mention the merch we got coming. We can mention iTunes, leave a 5-star review. Man, we're available on every podcast platform. We can mention that we have really sick playmats for sale. We can mention that we are going to be streaming live from the MoxStars studio coming soon. We got it all set up. We just got to dial some things in. We could mention all those things. I mean, we can go from the top or just cut it and let's go. And we're back. All right. Today we are finishing our Lord of the Rings set review. On our last episode, we talked about all the colors in the color pie. And now we're once again going to talk about all the colors in the color pie, but on multicolored cards. And then also we're going to talk about none of the colors in the color pie on colorless cards.
I thought you were going to say noneless.
Noneless. Nonetheless, we relent and onward. I think I'm having a stroke. Someone else start talking.
We are your hosts of the MoxStars podcast. I am Evan Kunai, and the guy who gave such a glorious intro is Christopher Ritterrrrrr.
Howdy, I'm back.
And we've got Jordan Garcia here.
Yo, what's up? I'm also here.
In the, what seat are you in? Are you in the,
First seat.
First seat. He is going first in turn order, and we have pregame actions. Jordan, pregame actions? Anything?
No, mostly because we didn't discuss that ahead of time.
Nice. Got him.
Evan, I think you have a pregame action. You have a question you want to ask me on air?
I do. I will exile a card from my hand, and I will ask you a question on the air.
Okay.
Is it true that you bought 2 Lord of the Rings gift bundles?
I did.
Slander.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I bought 2, maybe 3.
Maybe 3.
I don't know how many I have on the way, but yeah.
All right.
At minimum 2.
I have a follow-up
Maximum
question.
3. Yeah.
My brother, William Rule, has a request.
Yeah.
For one of the dice in your gift bundle, he collects the dice. So this is another aspect of the game and its collectible status. He collects every single dice ever made.
Okay.
And he was wondering if he could have one of your dice.
Absolutely.
$50.
$50. Anything's available for a price.
Funny thing is, some of those dice cost that much.
Including this one, $50.
Yeah. For
You heard it here first, Willie.
If we will discuss market conditions at such time as the trade happens, but yeah, totally available.
Awesome. I also have a ley line in my hand because I have another pregame action.
What's up?
Did you guys see that yesterday Gavin Verhey and the rules committee for Commander had said that there are no immediate changes to the format as far as bans go, but they are keeping their eye on 2 cards. 1, Mirkwood Bats, and 2, Orcish Bowmasters.
I think you describing the situation and the order you describe those cards just illustrates how just silly this whole situation is, and how willy-nilly run around out of control people are. The sky is falling over Orcish Bowmasters.
I feel vindicated slightly.
Yeah, because you know what? I feel like
ban-worthy.
Orcish Bowmasters is as ban-worthy as Mirkwood Bats right now. And
Right,
Mirkwood
isn't that
Bats
funny?
is a 4 CMC enabler of fringe strategies.
I have no idea what Mirkwood Bats is.
It's-
Anytime a token is created under
Sacrificed
specifically.
Yep.
Okay. Anytime a token is sacrificed on your control, each opponent loses 1 life, or target opponent loses 1 life.
It's each opponent. Yep.
Each opponent. Yeah. Regardless, it
That's
is
pretty good.
4 C
And you
attached
gain-
to a
you
4
gain a life.
CMC 1/1 flyer or some shit like that.
I mean, you mentioned it in
Yeah.
the review already last week.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty bad, right?
No, you said it was good.
It is good.
It's a good card.
Oh yeah, I mean we're talking like I was thinking like Corvold and stuff. Like there's some like loops you can definitely.
Oh, for
do,
sure.
But
Good things you can do with it. But
like
ban worthy out of the gate.
format. What world is this ban worthy? Like
Yeah.
what are we worried about?
Well, the conversation is that they're worried about Dockside, and then it's like, well, wouldn't
ban
you just
Dockside.
ban Dockside?
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is clearly not the ban-worthy card. So because it's like,
Well, then, yeah,
you
to your-
Dockside for 20 treasures. Like, okay, you should already have won the game.
Okay, so what Chris said, yeah. If we're talking about Mirkwood Bast, then Orcish Bowmasters, like What is
still yet to be seen, but they have their eye on it.
Great.
I also don't think Blue Trees should be banned, so fucking catch me outside.
Twin Flame instant combo.
Yeah, fuck yeah, why not?
I don't know. We have, I mean, what? Thassa's Oracle.
Was it
and
not
There's
nerfed with
mana
every
competition.
other companion when we
Yeah,
nerfed
there's
it?
plenty
Yeah.
of other 1-card combos in the command zone.
Right.
We had
Yeah.
3 more mana as a companion, so
Even at this point, does Flash need to be banned?
Yes.
Okay.
For Flash Hulk still.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Yeah, because 4-color Aragorn would actually be good if Flash was still there.
Ooh, that's a little preview of a conversation we'll have later, I guess.
Yeah.
how bad is Aragorn?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so
let's get right
let's
into it.
get fucking rocking, boys.
Yeah.
Okay.
First card up. Chris, what you got for me, dog?
I don't know. Should we start with just like the box toppers? We were just
yeah, let's talk
It's
about
it's
them
not
because the
new content, so I feel like we should
But the
just like talk
value
about
is
how
just slapping.
sweet they are, how
Schmacking.
they're all cool art,
schmexy.
schmexy for sure, schmexy. Yeah, I mean they are, especially if you want to get deep into some like thematic decks out of this Lord of the Ring content.
True.
It adds a bunch of cool cards in there.
They call that Vorthos. Good job.
Ah, Vorthos.
Vorthos rocks
if you're
off.
Vorthosing, you will get your rocks off for sure.
Yeah, there's a
Give it
few
by
things
yourself.
to note here with these box toppers before we actually talk about the cards themselves. They come in 3 different printings. There's the non-foil, there's a standard foil, and there's a surge foil.
Those are rookie numbers. Got to get those numbers up.
Right? Yeah, we
Yeah.
need 21 different
Like
variants.
3
for
different
sure.
variants for these box
Yeah.
toppers. Ridiculous.
We need Elishnorn numbers.
Yes, please, Wizards of the Coast, you're fucking up. So, thing being is that these box toppers come in 0.7% of collector's packs. That is apparently the print rate. So, getting a foil one even more rare, and getting a surge foil even more rare than that. And so they're saying
Yeah.
that to get a surge foil, it's basically the same as getting a serialized card. That is how many there are.
Yeah, the one card I'm really trying to pick up is a foil Gemstone Caverns, but it's that the alt art, whatever.
The-
Paths of the Dead.
Yeah, we could start there. The Glittering Caves of Aglarond.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at cavern results. Lols.
Yeah, I
Glittering
mean-
Caves of Aglaront.
Again, Vorthos wise, like Minas Morgul being Cabal Coffers, so cool, so on point. Like, just the choices they made here, even like Horizon Canopy being bag end. You love that.
The Buckleberry Ferry.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yes.
When they're
Inn
running
of the
from the
Prancing
Nazgul.
Pony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, it's just good stuff. I don't know if I mentioned this. I'm a huge dork for Lord of the Rings. Like
You bought how much product
last
before
six
it?
a lot of it, man. Guys, you don't understand that the Silmarillion and the Unfinished Tales were there for me when girls weren't. So, so we are deep into Vorthos when it comes to the Lord of the Rings set.
I love it. This Gemstone Caverns, by the way, as the Glittering Caves of Aglarond as the Surge foil. I think it was looking about $700 last I saw.
Yeah, I put a restock notice on Card Kingdom. I put one in, and less than an hour later, they sent me an email with it restocked at $250, and I clicked on it, and it was already sold. Like,
Damn.
Yeah. I'm trading in and holding on to that store credit so that I can like potentially purchase one of them.
That's what I really would like to pick up from this whole set.
Oh, man.
One of those
Yeah.
baddies.
What about the Dead Marshes, the reskinned Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth,
Yes.
which is it's just
And the
beautiful.
Cabal Coffers, too. Like, love
Yeah.
to see it.
But like just the flavor of that, like the Dead Marshes feels like everything is a swamp. It
Yeah.
just makes sense
True.
to me.
Yep. And Helm's Deep being like Ishinka is like actually very flavorful. Too, because like the pay 1 red target legendary creature gains first strike until end of turn at the very end of the battle when they are like trapped within that last chamber and they run out, just like horse up and just stampede through the hordes of orcs and chase them out into the forest. Like, name a more fitting ability for that. Like first strike, they just surprise attacked them and just charge their way through. So like the Glittering Caves of Aglaron too is another point in the story that they don't even describe in the movies. And I was so sad because when I read through the books and they finished the battle at Helm's Deep and they're like, oh yeah, and Gimli's like, oh yeah, the most beautiful mines in the world actually exist there. Like, and he's talking to Legolas and he's just like, when we're done and we're done doing this with the whole ring thing, I want to take you there and I want to show you what this is like because it's the most beautiful thing in the world. And I think they actually did it like so like it's so beautifully done and it's so fitting for Gemstone Caverns because of how powerful the card is, how iconic the card is, and it just
I just want to see that shit.
Really
in foil.
well done.
I think
Yes.
the art is going to look great in foil.
All right. Any other box toppers we want to just drool over? I think.
I'm ready to move.
I mean, there's some really valuable reprints here.
Yeah.
The Thorn of Amethyst being Shards of Narsil. The thing is, these are cards that for a long time were $15 or more. And now we're seeing them in foil. The Thorn of Amethyst is $6 right now. So get out. These are like great value. The Sword of the Animist has always been an expensive card ever since Sword of Hearth and Home was printed. Sword of the Animist has seen like less play, but hey, Sword of Hearth and Home is also getting a reprint here. So you get your choice. Sword of the Animist is actually sub $10 now. So you actually have quite a few choices here amongst the box toppers to get stocked up on staples for your decks, whether it be low, mid, or high power. I think there's range of outcomes for all of them. And get on it while you can. Get on it while the set is cheap and the amount of cards out there in the market are flooded.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are going to be, until that one ring, the one of one ring gets opened, the market is just going to flood with this product.
Totally.
People are going to be opening lots of packs. You're going to get
selling
all
all back.
Yep. You're going to get those singles, baby.
So I can turn and burn and buy more boxes and get the one ring.
There we go. Let's just talk about the lands. I like this legendary land cycle. I think we mentioned previously Mount Doom, the Shire, Barad-dûr, Minas Tirith, Mines of Moria, and Rivendell, as well as the Grey Havens belong in that conversation. That whole cycle potentially playable.
Yeah, I think these are really interesting. Anytime you have utility lands or multicolor lands that enter untapped, it's worth consideration.
Yeah, people are talking about Mount Doom and World Gorger.
Yes, awesome little outlet for that. I imagine any of the Evelyn decks are going to be including that, or adding that in for sure. It's just nice little additional redundancy.
Rivendell, I think we mentioned before, it's a strict upgrade over Castle Vantress. The Shire is hot if you're like me, building food strategies right now. If you're on Samwise Gamgee, the Shire goes right in there.
In my head, the white one, Minas Tirith, is just the best.
It reads like it's the best one.
I mean, it's card draw. Yeah.
Such a low barrier for entry. It is 1 and a white and tap to draw a card. Only if you attacked with 2 or more creatures this turn, which is just so easy.
I mean, if you're in white, you're attacking with creatures probably. Most likely. I would say that Mines of Moria maybe is not so great in EDH because it's competing with Breach in terms of exiling from your graveyard.
It will never be competitive.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it has that power. Like, it's great to sit down at the kitchen table and play with it because, like, in those middle turns, as you get into the late game, this is great because it's like stockpiling mana.
I think it's great in mono red and standard probably.
Yeah.
Like, there's probably a deck that is just going to love that and it's going to,
Or modern.
modern.
Yeah.
Sure.
CDH Magda would play it.
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, because they don't play Breach at all. So,
2 treasures.
yeah. The funny thing is about all these lands, they're all sub $3 right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I feel like the land cycles tend to get disrespected.
Yeah, except for Mount
in
Doom.
new
Mount Doom
sets.
is a little bit
Yeah.
more.
But they usually build up over time as people see like the value in them. They're not the chase out the gate kind of cards.
Yeah. People need to see how easy it is to proc these. I think that because, like, when we were introduced to legendary sorceries with Dominaria, we were sort of confused at their power because you had to control a legendary creature in order to, like, cast them. And so this just, it doesn't have that restriction as far as the activate ability. It's just, do I want to activate that ability this turn? Like, can I wait a second? Do I need to activate this ability right now? It's great if I do have a legendary creature because it gives me mana that's ready and available, or an activate ability that I can use. Commander, these are going to be great.
Yeah.
I think Modern, these are going to be great because guess what? If you're playing in Modern, you're probably playing Ragavan in some form, shape, or form. So
Lands that do shit are really good in Modern, is what I've learned.
yeah. So if you can somehow generate 1 red mana, play a Ragavan, and then play this land and generate more value, Hammer Time probably wants to see. We'll probably see some of these played.
You know what? I didn't mention the other named non-basic when I rattled off the other ones earlier, but now that I'm rereading it, Shire Terrace, also pretty good. It's an upgraded Evolving Wilds. It can produce mana, so it's not a dead card if you're not using it to filter your land right away. And then you just pay 1 and search for your basic lands on a future turn.
Yeah, it completely replaces all of the panoramas. So
Yeah.
if you ever wanted to play a panorama, play the Shire Terrace now. Just a strict upgrade.
Yeah, just like a very low key push.
Yeah, I don't think Barad-dûr is that great. I think it's great if you want to create a blocker for 3 mana.
It's for sure not great. I think there's some potential with an amass strategy, but even there, I feel like any amass strategies, you're getting that effect incidentally.
I mean,
they're just vanilla
it's not
creatures.
the main thing.
This essentially reads 3 and tap, so 4 essential mana.
Oh, right.
To create a 1/1 that is replacing when a creature died, right? So I'm thinking of a sacrifice strategy where you sacrifice your creature and you pay 3 mana to replace your creature for more fodder. Doesn't seem that bad to me.
And then even if you have an army, then it's just putting +1/+1 counters on something.
Yeah.
So if you can somehow warp that orc to become unblockable or something like that, or play into a token strategy, I think that it could be good there. It'd fit really well.
Yeah, I don't think it's dead. Just needs to find a home.
Right.
All right, I'm ready to move on to more colorless cards, i.e. the artifacts.
Okay, let's go.
I would like to
What do you
talk
got?
about, I think we have to speak about the One Ring, both because we're talking about the Lord of the Rings set, and also it actually might be viable in pretty much all of Commander. So let's talk about
It's really good.
Yeah, it's a sick card draw engine.
It is.
The rate is incredible once you get some counters on there.
Yeah, so it is a 4 generic mana for a legendary artifact, indestructible. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you gain protection from everything until your next turn. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each burden counter on the One Ring. Then you tap it, put a burden counter on the One Ring, then draw a card for each burden counter on the One Ring. That's pretty crazy. It's a lot of words. It just is like a draw engine that is probably the best valued colorless draw engine that I can think of, that will just slowly but surely grow out of control if left unattended.
Yeah, and if you start untapping that bad boy, you are going to rip cards off the top of your deck.
So easy.
Keep in mind that the life you're losing only occurs during your upkeep.
Correct.
It's not like Necropotence where you're paying that 1 life to get that card every time or anything.
You could draw 30 cards in 1 turn and then never have to see your next upkeep.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about that mono blue legendary creature last time on the previous episode, where it can untap legendary permanents. And guess what?
Yeah, that
Watcher
lady's
in the
name-
Deep.
No, it's
That's the only.
it's the healer. Eodith or whatever.
I remember last week's episode.
Yeah, we're listeners of this podcast that we make. It is Eorith of the Healing House. Untap another target permanent. Untap 2 other target legendary creatures.
There you go.
For sure. Yeah, right there.
So the rate here is that if you do not go with untapped Shenans, you can actually draw 6 cards and lose 3 life. That's the rate by tapping it. Yeah. So basically, the turn you play it, tap it, draw a card. Goes to your turn, you lose 1 life. You tap it, draw 2 cards. Go back to your turn again, lose 2 life. Tap it, draw 3 cards. You've drawn 6 cards, lost 3 life.
For 4 mana.
For 4 mana.
In colorless, that is an extremely good rate.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you're in a color that doesn't already have great card draw effects.
I think a lot
white,
of the time,
for example, red, for example.
A lot of times I think you could say this otherwise, especially if you have any synergies outside of that. Like any of them tapping, any artifact synergies, why wouldn't you? Falden decks, Osgir decks, the mono white guy.
Hey, if you're proliferating, adding burden counters.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Drawing this probably does find a home in OG Atraxa decks, or at least middle tier ones.
I feel like we're always talking about Flux Channeler and how underplayed that card is. We're just waiting to find out what stupid ass counter can I just go bing, 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 and really pop off. This might be it. This is something to think about.
Yeah, because it just draws you a million cards.
Yeah. Tap it once, it's just I'm just drawing a card, guys. Next turn I'm going to draw 2 cards. Big deal.
Yeah, and then you have some manifold key nonsense, and then you just like, oh, I'll play the One Ring, tap it, draw a card, play Manifold Key, and then proliferate that, activate Manifold Key, untap it, cast another card, 3 counters, tap.
Yeah.
So that's not unrealistic. You're right. Like Flux Channeler could be that enabler to like make this.
Or tons of other things that just will happen to make this even better than it already is. When on its face, it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, pretty hot on it. It's a great card to be the face card of the set.
Yeah, I think they did a good job without it being like too crazy powerful.
Although, who knows? It might be a Jester's Cap situation with Ice Age, you know, where over time, maybe.
Oh, we're definitely gonna flex this out eventually.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just the progression of the game. We got to be able to sell cards.
We're gonna have 1 mana colorless Mystic Grimoires coming up here pretty quick.
Okay, let's talk about. Speaking of card draw, let's talk about File of Galadriel. 2 colorless legendary artifact. If you draw a card while you have no cards in hand, draw 2 cards instead. If you gain life while you have 5 or less life, you gain twice that much life instead. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color. Sorry, it costs 3 colorless, but that first line of text is what I'm hot on. Drawing cards while you have no cards in hand, you draw an extra card. So, for example, Wheels, you're now getting 8 cards versus everyone's 7 cards.
Sure, that's actually
interesting.
That is a cool way to look at it. I never really thought about that.
But you draw 9, no? Because you draw the 2 off the first trigger and then the other 6?
No, because you draw cards. Under the rules of Magic, you draw cards 1 at a time. So it sees the first trigger, you're getting that extra card, and then you're getting the other 6 cards 1 at a time.
Right, so you would draw the first card and you would...
You get 8 cards.
Okay. Yeah. Instead, it says instead, boys. Okay. I think nobody wants to pay 3 mana for a rock anymore these days. That said, I really have been kind of back in my brain really appreciating these chaotic decks that just strive to discard everybody's hands mutually and then find a way to thrive through it. Mostly I'm thinking of Rograg Tavesh, where they want to do like those polymorph effects into a Sire of Insanity.
That was my first thought with this, was like a Sire of Insanity deck like really loves this.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
Right? Like, you're like, yeah, we are always without a hand, all of us. And then all of a sudden I get 2 and like that's just another way to start breaking that parity, and I think that's kind of fun.
Yeah, I think they're really starting to they're working with how to make 3 mana rocks playable, because
Really
you can't make more 2 mana rocks.
Can't make more 1 or 0 mana rocks either, for sure.
Yeah,
Exactly.
what keeps up with Arcane Signet if that they would have to print? It would be terrifying.
Yeah, and so now we're looking at it. I thought the Celestis might be part of that, like moving in that direction, because it inherently has a passive looting effect on it. Right? So I thought, oh, hey, they're actually creating 3 mana rocks that make me want to like play. Like I can, and I can instigate the day or night trigger and draw and discard, so with a certain amount of mana. Now we're looking at this is just static abilities stapled to this that allow me to like actually break parity without doing much. So we're moving in the right direction. Does this, I don't know if it requires a build around. I think like if you're inherently doing things like Sire of Insanity, Rogside, like that polymorph effect, this I
think it's worth testing.
Yeah, I think it's worth
See how much
testing
juice
for
it
sure.
has.
Yeah.
Like for 3 mana with that effect where you get 2 cards and everyone else just gets 1, you will eventually break parity and win the game.
Another one I want to talk about is Stone of Eric. 1 mana legendary artifact. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile instead. And then it has a second ability: 2, tap it, sack it, exile target player's graveyard, draw a card.
Oh, that's just so good.
Yeah.
Such a good stacks piece.
Just a one-sided stacks piece. If for some reason you want to keep your graveyard active, for example, Savine's Reclamation, play this over Rest in Peace.
I think, this is also a 1 mana rock that you can bounce with like your Hullbreaker Horror combos, between Soul Ring and this.
There's just inherently a lot of synergies in the artifact world. You can have this, take the advantage of exiling everything, and then later turn it like transmute artifacted into the win con. Those kind of things.
Yeah, find it with Urza Saga.
Oswald probably loves this fucking card.
Totally. Yeah, it just allows you to start building towards your game or your win condition.
Yeah. I think it's really, really cool. And I think it's another thing similar to the other cover we were talking about, where it's just like, it's the commons, uncommons, where we're starting to see just like this like pushing of like similar mechanics that are not like the legendary mythic status. We're not seeing like crazy big bombs, but it's more like just good value pieces that are going to get plugged into a lot of decks and probably take a lot of cards out of decks.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to see like the next Stony Silence effect. Like this is like actually hoses certain strategies, and like to make a rare or mythic card, they feel like they need to staple 4 or 5 lines of text onto it. No, it's actually totally reasonable to print 1 line of text on a card for 1 mana and it be incredibly powerful.
Yeah, what's that lantern that this reminds me of? I'm thinking
Soul Guide Lantern.
Soul Guide Lantern. Like this is
yeah.
another Soul Guide Lantern type effect. It draws you a card when it cantrips. But it has just this great static ability too, which Soul Guide Lantern does not have. So you're almost when that you're kind of put into this weird like political play situation of when do you pop it and stuff, and people play around that. Where now this is just dead static exile effect, and I think that's really good.
Yeah, I think with the growth in food strategies like Cauldron Familiar with Samwise Gamgee, this might actually see play in Magda. Like those builds that want to like start playing more Staxy because the strategies have been figured out and they're easily you can counteract them pretty easily. But if you played this, right, you can actually stop that food combo from ever existing. So get rid of that Cauldron Familiar, it's gone forever. You can actually fetch this out and just stop combos from happening, which I think is actually really hot. So I think this does see play.
Yeah, for sure. I don't really have any other artifacts I want to talk about. Like, I don't love any of the equipment. Are you about to mention one of them?
Yep, yes I am.
Okay.
Let's talk about Mithril Coat.
Okay, it's pretty good.
I think it's pretty good, and it's like it's a commander card, you know? Let's talk about it. It's 3 colorless, legendary artifact equipment. It's got flash, indestructible. Whenever it enters the battlefield, attach it to target legendary creature you control, and then equipped creature has indestructible. It also has equipped for 3. I think just a flash 3 mana protection spell. We play a lot of those, not a lot of those, but in, EDH, we like to have those effects. I'm thinking of like a heroic intervention type effects.
Okay.
This is a colorless one of those that then lends to future protection as well. So I would pay the additional 1 mana that about what I'm used to.
I don't know. I view this card as a 3rd copy of your Lightning Greaves or Swiftfoot Boots, and it is definitely not as good. It's 1 more mana than either of them. It doesn't provide the hexproof / shroud that protects against exiling effects, bounce effects, things like that.
You're just so jaded because our entire pod plays grotesque amounts of removal.
Well, yeah, as they should, as you should. I just don't. I feel like the spot that it would take in a deck is a 3rd copy of those cards, and there's already functional 3rd copies of those cards that don't see play.
Yeah, I agree.
So unless you're on the legendary artifact or the legendary synergy, or you are really going hard on maybe playing Frodo Determined Hero. Is that the mono white one that gets things and you want to be Vorth OC? I just don't feel like there's a space for it even in high powered CDH. High powered EDH,
Yeah, this to me just single-handedly takes the place of Dark Steel Plate. So now think of
it's an upgrade over Dark Steel Plate.
Yeah, just an immediate
if that sees play.
Upgrade. Right, exactly. So like that is where this now is just that strict upgrade because it has that extra line of text that says when it enters, attach it to a legendary creature. So in Commander, if you were playing Dark Steel Plate, this is congratulations. You've now found a 1-for-1 you can just swap this through.
Yeah.
And it's just immediately better. Outside of that, I think you're right. There are a lot of removal pieces that are like low costed, Chain of Vapor and like stuff like that are just bouncy that totally undo your investment. So they're hardly
Indestructible's not a top tier effect.
This doesn't
Feels
stop
like less and less so these days.
Yeah.
This doesn't stop a Cyclonic Rift, which we have
few things do.
Yes, we have yet to see an ability that stops a Cyclonic Rift.
That's not true. Ashaya has been my greatest upset.
Oh, yeah,
I'm not even joking. Like as the blue player,
you're right.
Ashaya consistently is my greatest upset in Cyclonic Rift snuffing.
Yeah, I wish we could have more effects like that.
Yeah, it's a very good effect. All right, that's pretty much all I got for colorless. You're right.
I mean, a lot of the artifacts are super interesting and cool. The equipments are interesting and cool. I just don't think any of them are that great where I want to play them.
Very fair.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to some multicolor shit.
Yeah, let's do it. I feel like that's where the meat is. Should we just start with Aragorn the Uniter, 4-color Aragorn?
Yeah,
Let's
I guess
do it.
we got it.
Jordan, how quickly did you turn away from this card?
Because
Okay.
you were hot on this card when it
Yeah, I
was
mean, we
spoiled.
probably build like 3 decks in the first week it was spoiled. But I know we build those decks and I realized, God, it's just not better than any other deck that exists right now.
Yeah, so I'll read the card here. It is a red, green, white, blue, Aragorn the Uniter, legendary creature, human noble. Whenever you cast a white spell, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. Whenever you cast a blue spell, scry 2. Whenever you cast a red spell, Aragorn the Uniter deals 3 damage to target opponent. Whenever you cast a green spell, target creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. And Aragorn is a 5/5.
I believe it was that real hot on the mic. I think it was you earlier in the episode who said that when they print these mythics, they like to have like 4 lines of text on there and
Yep.
Make it
There
feel
it
like
is.
it has value.
Make it feel like a mythic. There you go.
Yep.
yeah, it does feel
One for each
like
color.
a mythic. Yeah,
Totally.
Yeah, that's the one thing is just like, I'm getting bored of the let's have 5 abilities for 5 colors. They each do the color thing. You know, the blue scries 2, the blah, blah, blah. Whatever.
Hey, we finally got that like legendary creature or whatever that doesn't just have one color in its cost though for like
Truth.
doing all of those things.
Okay, so let's see if it can keep up with any commander like that.
It can't.
Correct. But so let's see. We were talking about it in the CDH sense, mostly because of the combo of food chain. If you choose Squee as your instigator for the food chain combo, you will do infinite damage to the table, which I think is very interesting. On top of that, you can also run lines like Dockside and Emiel the Blessed.
you can just
That
run
is not
money
true.
pile.
You cannot do that.
Teamer Sabertooth.
Teamer Sabertooth. That's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking about. Thank you about. And what was that?
You can just run a money pile minus black.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, we're looking at Cloudstone Curio lines. Then there's Grading Ignis and Bergie lines, stuff like that. So you could go the infinite route. There was like a Staxy build where you just can really take advantage of the commander's, you know, value aspect of things. But really, when it comes down to it, it just doesn't get you any closer to winning the game than anything else.
No.
If it literally just was 4 colors, 5 mana, ETB draw a card, it would be a better card.
Yeah, there's a difference. There's a distortion of space and time when Kenrith lands. And when this lands, you know that like there's just a reeking sense of, okay, food chain is coming because you're just setting it up. It's sort of like when I play Shalai and Halar. Shalai and Halar is on the table. I probably have one of the 2 pieces in my hand.
Is it almost bad for Aragorn versus Kenrith, where Kenrith gets to be anything?
Correct.
Yes.
You know,
You can play it at a table
Yeah.
with 3 Kenriths, and they're all different decks.
and you're not going to know what's going to happen because literally it's just anything. Whereas Aragorn directs you kind of towards a strategy. Even if you're just getting generic value out of each of the colors, off of your spells, it does lead you towards certain things.
I will say that people will find success with this. Like
For sure.
as a commander, they
Yeah,
will.
it's a good card.
Well,
Yeah.
top 16
Yeah.
a tournament or something like that.
For sure. And I think you could probably look it up on the Eminence like results, like top 16 results, and see that someone has already taken it to top 16. You know, that player is just a good player, a good deck builder.
Yeah, with a generically good card that
Exactly.
enables him reach in 4 colors.
Yes.
Him or her.
Yeah. Do I think this is something that we see consistently at the top table? No.
No. Yeah, we gave
that's-
up on it pretty quick. Yeah, both me and Guy kind of gave up on it after about a week of thinking about it. But that being said, there's just so much cool stuff in this whole set to like either build around as a deck or put it in 99 and just lots of shake 'em ups, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as commander wise, there's a few that stick out. Definitely a lot of 99 All-Stars. I mean, I'm interested in building Samwise Gamgee. I think that's viable.
Yeah, you've been
Yeah.
hot on this. What's your
Yeah,
vibe?
I mean, my original read was that Frodo and Sam as the partners is the better deck because you get the Reach of Black, you get the tutor density, you get a sort of easily procced Timna type effect on Frodo. But the more I think about it and the more I theory craft it, I think the Samwise Gamgee situation where you're losing access to black mana and really focusing on the food synergies is just a better deck. I mean, you have plenty of creature tutors in green. You have plenty of interaction, mostly in white. And then you have all the main pieces that you need to go off with Academy Manufacturer, or if you want to do Rosy Cotton plus Scurry Oak. And you're really just losing Cauldron Familiar and, you know, other great black cards like Douthie Voidwalker and Orcish Bowmasters that are like, you know, just generically good black cards. But in green-white, losing access to black, I think you get a probably a more consistent deck and something that has an even higher ceiling as far as power level. Samwise Gamgee is just a great card. Whenever a creature ETBs, you create a food token.
Is it non-token?
Yeah, non-token.
Yeah, non-token creature ETBs. You create a food token. So if you want to, speaking of food chain, just use the Eldrazi horror line and go that way, and then maybe cast a big Farmer Cotton or a big whatever X creature spell with that excess mana, get 1,000,000 food tokens in the trade-off. I think it's pretty good. Plus, he has a second line of text: sacrifice 3 foods, return target historic card from your graveyard to the battlefield.
To your hand, actually.
To your hand.
But
which is going to be relevant.
to me, actually, that is the ability I'm more excited about.
Yeah,
that is very interesting.
Listen, somebody sees that Academy Manufacturer land and they're going to burn remover on it. Well, you got
Perfect.
plenty of food still to get it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that kind of makes me think of like the old Kedis decks and stuff like that. Benefiting like historic recursion in some fashion. That said, that was legendary specific. This is historic, so you actually get the benefits of
Sagas, artifacts
and everything too.
Kethis, right? The Abzan.
Yeah, is he historic?
He is historic.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. All right. He cares exclusively about legend.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, historic, you get the benefit of just like recycling artifacts and everything too. So yeah, I think that's very, very good.
Yeah, but that being said, I think Frodo and Sam also has legs. If you go on Reddit, on the CDH subreddit, today people were, saying they think that might be one of the viable pairs, which, Abzan isn't a great color combination, I think.
It's rising here on the West Coast.
It is, for sure.
Taeyam is seeing more and more play, and that's where I think that engine really explodes.
Yeah, I think, I think Frodo and Sam is worth testing. I think any sort of Abzan shell is worth testing if you're going into food strategies. I'm personally, I think, going to go down the Samwise Gamgee path.
Right.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. Yeah. With Bowmasters introduced, I think that with how White has developed with like Boromir and stuff like that, I do feel like Abzan didn't have a lot of representation before. It's going to have a lot more representation now because you have the cleanest Hulk pile I think we've seen in a long time.
Oh, for sure.
Involving Samwise.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, now just reading this, I know this is not a multicolor card, but the Peregrine Took is really just gas for this food strategy. Getting to turn 3 foods into a card is awesome.
Yes. I think those like the Meriadoc and Pippin, stuff like that, they're going to be great enablers probably in that strategy, that deck you're talking about.
Yeah, they're in there.
Yeah, we talked about how it interacts with Academy Manufacturer as a replacement.
And as you explained the math to me, if you have Peregrine Took and Academy Manufacturer in play, you can stack it, you can order it, the triggers, so that you're going to get eventually 2 of each type of token.
Yeah, and that's just for creating 1, which is just nuts.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think Samwise Gamgee is has the highest ceiling as far as being in the 99 for decks, and you are talking about putting it at the helm of a deck. I think you're going to sneak a lot of wins. Honestly, people won't see like food chain. Why do you need food chain right now? And you're like, oh, because I'm creating infinite foods, and then I'm sacrificing 3 to return these to my hand, and I will cast.
Also, just 2 mana commanders, dude. 2 mana commanders are good. That's just a lot of good value.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, and that even if you're not comboing off, a food token is not a dead effect. Like, if you have that commander in play, you might have been thrown off your strategy, but you have a way to recur some historic stuff from your graveyard. You have all these food tokens if you just need to stay alive for a while. I think it's,
You could probably do a deck tech on this.
I hope you would.
I'm going to print this shit off, and then we'll do a deck tech.
Boom.
Hell yeah.
Get some games in. Let me get some reps.
Let's go. 2 weeks out. Just put a timeline on you for no reason. Okay, let me throw a deck at you. This is kind of a fun one.
Okay.
So Dimir Control, right? Nimrus has been one that has kind of honestly held its own a little bit. It pops up from time to time, right? I will say that is a card draw engine where this is not, but this gives you an alternative, and that is Lord of the Nazgul. Mostly, I just want to justify playing this fucking deck. It is a 5 mana, 3 and Dimir, legendary creature Wraith Noble. It is a flying 4/3. Wraiths you control have protection from ring bearers, not relevant. And then whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, create a 3/3 black wraith with menace, which is kind of fun. Then if you control 9 or more wraiths, including your commander, wraiths you control have power and toughness 9/9.
So here's the
I'm
thing.
still looking for this card.
It's
Well, I just had
from the commander. It's in the commander.
It's the commander. It's a commander card.
So I think that this card has potential not because of the Wraith synergies, but because the Nazgul, of which you can have 9 in your deck. I think the ring tempts you. I think there's a viable build around. There's some powerful effects, like, if you look at what the ring does when you get tempted, it's a pretty good loot effect the second time it happens in the game. And if you can start consistently proccing that, you can just rip through your deck.
Holy beat face. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery. Wow.
Yeah.
That didn't even register until
Yeah.
I saw it in text. Holy shit.
Yeah, so in my head, I'm playing a Dimir control list.
Yeah.
I early game establish my draw engine and then interact for turns 3 through 5. While I do that, I try and get this motherfucker out, and I just get as many 3/3 wraiths as possible.
You are a punch face strategy type of guy.
I mean, yeah, sure.
Paco.
Yeah, that's true. I like turning control into damage because
Yeah.
that gives me like an outlet to start closing the game out instead of just countering everybody's shit and destroying everything, right? So this lets my my countless removal spells and counter spells mean something. It just seems like a fun deck, and it feels like we've talked about how Dimir has to prioritize Thoracle Winds, which just gets to play. But we've also talked about how good Dimir stacks can be and some of the access that some of the cards that it has access to that we don't see get played a lot. I think you could put that in a build like this, make it very controlling, and you just get this nice little inevitable outlet of essentially unblockable monsters.
Yeah, I kind of want to buy this precon and see what it does.
Yeah,
As-
I have no fucking idea.
Yeah, there's a few cards in there that are more Grixis focused that just create wraiths in general, which is like, actually, I'm starting to see like the synergies there, and it looks like a really fun deck to like bust out the box and play.
I like most cards that say whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, do X. Magecraft really does it for me, and this is a pretty promising one. Like as a spell or like a in your hand mostly kind of guy,
Yeah.
turning that into big old beefy boys is really great. It lets me
Big old beefy boys.
yeah, you like pad my life total, tons of blockers for days, flying 4/3. Like it has a lot of good text on it.
Yeah, Archmage Emeritus gets crazy in here.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yes.
You know what? I'm skeptical. I'm in.
I mean, you
I
can
like
still,
it. I want to see it. I want to play against it.
It just seems like a fun deck. That's
Yeah,
pretty
for
much
sure.
it.
Now, here's a fun deck in colors that I normally don't play in or dabble in at all.
Okay.
Sauron, the Dark Lord.
Dude, I know.
Oh,
You're hot on
yeah.
it. You've actually kind of gotten me more on it. Actually, I'm into it.
Yeah.
So there's like 5 Saurons.
The good one.
This is the good one.
This is,
So-
the mythic from the actual set, not the Commander precons. It is a legendary creature avatar horror for 3 blue, black, red, a 7/6 with ward. Sacrifice a legendary artifact or legendary
Such a
creature.
good ward effect.
Really hard to get around that. Sometimes not so much, but it does force your opponents to like sacrifice their commander.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? It forces a hard trade-off.
Like, are you going to sack your commander to get rid of my commander?
Just to target this thing.
And-
in which
and-
case I might have protection.
Correct. Yeah. Like, you imagine you sack your commander, burn your only removal spell in hand, and then I counter that.
Yeah, and I go boop.
Fierce Guardianship for 0 mana.
Yeah, would you like to target it again? Do you have anything else to target it with? Or any more creatures or legendary creatures or legendary artifacts to sacrifice? Whenever an opponent casts a spell, amass orcs 1.
well, that's trash because that's never going to proc when your opponent's going to cast spells.
Never.
Yeah.
Never.
Have you guys ever heard of Ishai, the card that consistently just murders people on like turn 3?
Yes, I've heard of that card.
It's essentially that card.
Whenever an army you control deals combat damage to a player, the ring tempts you.
Which is a good effect.
It's a good effect.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So we saw that last time. The first proc is creatures with power greater than the creature. The ring bearer can't block it. So it's a 7/6. You're probably making Sauron your ring bearer. Nothing bigger than that. So, and then whenever the ring tempts you, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw 4 cards.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Wow, that seems like it's good.
And
That's awesome.
If you're doing that every turn, or maybe on every player's turn, or multiple times on each turn, because there's no limitation of once per turn attached to that effect.
Right.
Because
Whenever it
this
does
is
what?
an actually beat mythic that they printed. Yeah, it's a good card.
Well, it says when it deals combat damage, right?
Whenever an army you control deals combat damage to a
Ring
player,
tempts you.
the ring tempts you. So,
See, so
if
get
you
tempted
deal,
otherwise.
yeah. So whenever in army, so if you throw 2 armies because you have like the option of creating zombie army or like orc army.
Guys, not even relevant. Whenever the ring tempts you, unrelated to the first line of text
Right,
about
yeah.
tempting. So Call of the Ring, which is an enchantment in black, one colorless. Every upkeep, the ring is going to be tempting you, and you're
shit.
also going to be paying 2 life to draw a card at that point off that card.
Oh shit.
So there's lots, like I was saying, there's lots of good ring temps effect. I don't know if I would build around it, but if you're playing this as your commander, I would definitely throw Call of the Ring in there.
Yeah.
And look at those other cards that tempt you.
For me, this seems to be so far the biggest ring tempting you payoff by far.
Yeah, no, for sure.
As far as definitely. This is the one we've been
lot.
looking for. We were waiting for it, and here it is.
I mean, the second best one is Frodo Adventurous Hobbit, which is the Frodo that partners with Sam, and that ring tempt payoff is limited to attacking with him and during combat.
What was that card you just said? The black one?
Call of the Ring.
Yeah, Call of the Ring. Funny thing about Call of the Ring, statistically, it is the highest selling card in the set so far. Mm-hmm. I saw on TCG Player that
I think people are figuring this out.
Right. There's no more popular card in the set than
It's the best ring tempter.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I would like to really quick call out how wrong we were about what Mirkwood Bats is. It's a 3/4, or sorry, it's 3 and a black for a 2/3 flyer, and it says whenever you create or sacrifice a token,
I tried to say that, and Evan told me I was wrong.
each opponent
I
loses.
thought it was only sacrifice. Sorry.
Create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses 1 life.
Wow. Okay. That's crazy.
I mean, that's good, but it's also requires an extensive build around.
Let's ban Dockside.
Not worth saying like let's build it off. Let's ban it off the bat. For
Yeah. Let's be absolutely clear. There are some cards in the set that are designed for Commander. It's clear to see that Sauron the Dark Lord is not going to see much play in Modern or in many constructed formats in general. But there are some cards that are explicitly designed for limited or modern playability or, limited constructed playability. I think Mirkwood Bats is that limited constructed card. It just so incidentally gets crazy when you translate it to Commander.
Yeah.
Because, you just talked about like Samwise Gamgee infinitely creating food tokens. Like this just is another outlet.
Yeah, but at the same time, like Mirkwood Bats, Disciple of the Vault, Essence Warden, a million other things that do related things much cheaper.
Yeah.
Not in danger of getting banned.
Nope.
Yeah, I think Sauron's awesome. In my head, I was like,
Yeah, back to Sauron.
reanimate strategy would be sick because you just discard your fatties. Hopefully, top 4 you get to rip a reanimate.
Yeah.
Bing, bang, boom.
And then your opponents are forced to interact, in which case you will amass 1 orc.
I love
or
it.
put a puzzle counter on one.
Yeah, Sauron the Dark Lord is sick. And I do you guys think that's like CDH viable, or is that just strictly high powered?
I do.
Okay.
I think
Yeah, I think it doesn't read like a CDH card, but I think if you put a very good Grixis shell into a disgusting mid-range commander like this, you'll get somewhere.
Yeah, because look, it's exactly a very good Grixis shell with a commander that has great protection, is gonna just pump out creatures, and is gonna draw you a shit ton of cards. And if you're pursuing like ring tempt strategies, Call the Ring is in black. Man, I think there's some payoffs there.
I think it's a good-ass card.
it's definitely, it is a may ability as well. You may discard, and then if you do, draw 4 cards. So like there is the optional, if there's something on the board hindering you, like a Spirit of the Labyrinth or something like that, you can choose not to discard, even if the ring tempts you through a proc, like, the ring tempts you. Right.
Other cool-ass big bomby commander I want to talk about is Saruman of Many Colors.
You know what? That's a great transition because Saruman sort of, in the Vorthos way, sort of submissive to Sauron, and Saruman of Many Colors reads kind of similar, but a little bit worse.
Yeah, I think he's pretty interesting. I like how they're exploring the new ward options. So this one also has ward. Sorry, he's 3 in Esper for 5/4. Ward, discard an enchantment, instant, or sorcery card.
Pretty
Pretty fucking awesome.
Ward effect.
Like in my head, if you're going to use,
that's a big ask.
yeah,
right
if you're
there.
going to burn a removal spell, you're now being like, you're going to lose it's a 1-for-1 in a 4-player game, and now you're having to use 2 cards for 1.
Yeah. And the cards that you're limited to are enchantments, instants, or sorceries. So if you're using removal on Saruman of many colors, you're probably burning a counter or your second piece of removal.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or, I gotta like fucking chuck the Rhystic Study so I can kill this thing. So
Yeah.
in which case you're probably just not gonna kill this thing.
Yeah. Enchantments also probably one of your combo pieces if that's what you're doing. Yeah.
Yep. So already great with Ward. And then his main ability, and his only other ability, is whenever you cast your second spell each turn, each opponent mills 2 cards. When 1 or more cards are milled this way, exile target enchantment, instant, or sorcery with equal or lesser mana value than that spell from the opponent's graveyard. Copy it, and you may cast it without paying its mana cost. So essentially, cast your second spell each turn. Everybody mills 2 except for yourself, and if it's something matches the CMC and that typing, you get to fucking rip it for free. It just kind of reminds me of like a almost like an Esper version of that Simic commander, Rashmi, but in a very like more evilly vindictive kind of way.
So let me get this right. When 1 or more cards are milled this way, which you're automatically milling 2.
So 6 cards.
You're seeing 6 cards, yeah.
Exile target enchantment, instant, or sorcery card with equal or lesser mana value than the spell from an opponent's graveyard. You get to choose any
An opponent's graveyard,
Yeah.
not from the cards milled this way. Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
So everybody mills 2 cards, 6 new cards go to the graveyard. As long as any of those graveyards meet that condition, you get to rip one of those cards for free.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it reads pretty good. I feel like in effect, it's not that great. Just because you're relying on cards from your opponent's deck, and then you're also relying on the RNG and a complicated series of if-then principles to see what you can actually play.
Have you met me?
Yeah.
My favorite kind of deck.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to play like Mousetrap, absolutely.
I love playing with other people's cards. I think that's
Yeah.
part of it. I love ripping into that.
Yeah, here's the thing. It's 6 mana to get to, so you like the odds of you casting 2 spells in a turn is high, right? That we are seeing that is something that happens most every single turn.
I know it's going to proc, but
Right.
when it procs,
What are you
what
getting?
are you getting?
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
this isn't a great wheel deck. This is
yeah.
not like there's no great payoff.
Yeah, let's go through the let's go through that line of text because it's a little confusing. So when you cast that second spell, which you will be able to proc, probably not on the turn that he drops, unfortunately.
Right.
That's where the board comes in.
Yeah, 6 cards are going to get milled from the top of your opponent's libraries, right? Whatever the highest CMC of an enchantment, instant, or sorcery is from those 6 cards, you can then look at the other cards in their graveyard, which maybe they've been exiling with like Underworld Breach or other effects. And so who knows what there is to choose from, and it has to be a lower CMC, it has to be from that pool of cards, and it has to somehow advance your game plan. So there's lots of ifs for that to pay off.
I hear you, but in CDH, all we're doing for the first 5 turns is using low-costed spells to advance our game plan. So I'm thinking
Okay.
Mystic
Yeah.
Remoras die, right? So you snag that bad boy.
Oh, that's actually a great target for this. Yeah.
Right, and that's a 1-drop. Any of the 1-drop top of deck tutors, Enlightened Tutor, Worldly Tutor, Vampiric Tutor, Imperial Seal. We keep those in our hand. Gamble, we keep those in our hand in our snap or in our opening hands because we can fire them off early game. Now you say you brainstorm or you fire off. Now you get 2 tutors, something like that.
It just feels so conditional to me. Like I know there will be good stuff, but will that mix of the particular good stuff you have access to in that moment actually be useful to
win
you?
you the game?
Yeah.
Like that. No, I feel it, and that's why I think like if I was going to build a giant stompy Esper deck like this, it'd probably be Marnius Calgar because he has the outlet on him and he gives you the draw advantage.
Has
Yeah.
draw a card written on him.
Yeah,
Yep.
he reads a lot
That
better.
is kind of the minimum that you need to see in the command zone.
That's
a
it.
lot of the time.
I love this
Yeah.
weird fucking ability, bro. It's just so weird and good. Okay, last big color stompy commander I want to talk about is Tom Bombadil, dude.
Ooh, okay,
About
that's fun.
Fucking time. Sagas have been gas, and we've been talking about like the leader of the pact, right?
Such an important character in the books.
And
Yeah.
this actually makes sagas viable in this format for once. Not in CDH probably, but it's so fun. So it is a Wooburg for 4/4 God Bard, which is just so sick. As long as there are 4 more lore counters among sagas you control, Tom has Hexproof and Indestructible. Love that. And then whenever the final chapter ability of a saga you control resolves, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a saga card. Put that onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order.
It sounds like a fun, irritating deck to play against.
You finish a saga, you get another saga.
Talk about Flux Channeler being good.
Dude, Flux Channeler goes fucking nuts in this.
Yeah, the fact that he gets hexproof and indestructible just by having multiple sagas on the battlefield,
That
I
makes me
think
want
it's
to play
gonna
every
be,
saga with board wipes.
I feel like it's going to be very easy to proc. And that's one of those things that he is going to stick to the field like glue. He's going to be really hard to get rid of.
Hey, you know what? There's some powerful cards with sagas on the back of them. The Last Praetor cycle.
Yo,
And you can play
holy
all of them.
shit.
Right, but you can't put it. You can't flip them off the top, unfortunately.
Yeah.
With Tom Bombadil.
Still worth though. Still worth.
Yes, it's still worth because if you're playing any sort of like proliferate and you finally trigger the last saga on that and it flips back into a creature, you still get the Tom Bombadil.
Yo.
Thing. So
That's so fun.
just a quick rewind to the two previous creatures, Saruman and Sauron, that we talked about with Ward and versus Hexproof and Indestructible. There is moments where I feel like Ward is way stronger.
No, it is.
Yeah, and
When
now-
you're asking for resources from the opponent now, it actually becomes stronger. It's so good.
Yep, and we talked about like Mithril Coat just not being enough, and now we're seeing Tom Bombadil where it's like, oh, if you tie Hexproof and Indestructible to one another, it actually is enough.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of like the minimum, right? It's like Hexproof is good, right? But now you need to tie Hexproof and Indestructible together in order to meet an equivalent value for some of these ward effects.
These ward effects are getting fucking hot
No,
wild.
Ward is terrific. Like I feel like even like Ward 2 is like the floor for something for it to be really good. And that is not a lot.
Ward 3 is don't even fucking think about it.
Yeah, right. I mean, we've seen that with Tevet, right? It's like, and then even, well, it's just such a huge jump. Whenever something says give something Ward 1, I go, whatever, I'll pay the 1, whatever. And then as soon as it goes to Ward 2, I'm like, oh, God. Like, it's like paying for a fucking smothering tithe. You're just not going to do it.
Well, here's the thing. We were just talking about the amount of low-costed spells in CDH. Like, all right, so Ward 2 is now the choice between a second spell.
Yeah.
And
Right.
yeah.
So back to Tom Bombadil. I think
Tom Bombadil.
Tom Bombadil is really great. I want to build it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really fun. And
There's so many sagas out there.
so many more than even last time we even looked at building
Yeah.
a saga.
Sagas
Yeah.
that don't see play because they're not that great in a vacuum. But when you start getting some synergies together and you want to just take some game actions and move some counters around and just be a silly little guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do it.
There's got to be a few artifacts out there that hold on to like lore counters, right?
I mean,
Can you move
Ozolith.
the
those around?
Ozolith.
Does that hold on to lore counters?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it holds on to all counters.
But you have
It just
to only put on a
transfers them
creature.
to creatures.
Ooh.
But I mean,
Wait, is it from creature only or no?
it only at the beginning of your. I'm not even going to look up the card, but at the beginning of combat on your
put
turn or
all
something-
counters.
Yeah, it has to be. It can transfer them onto a creature,
Word.
but it takes them. It takes all counters. I think.
Yeah, but there's that
I don't know. Who
there's-
knows?
Why would we look that up?
Well, there is resourceful defense, I think is
Okay.
what the card is called. It's 2 and a white enchantment that allows
Guys,
you
you
to
have
pay.
access to every color of mana. There's something that does.
Yeah, whenever
Yeah.
a creature you control leaves the battlefield.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think resourceful defense is it, but it allows you to pay a certain amount of mana. I think it's like 3 or 4, and you can move any number of counters from a permanent to a permanent.
Okay.
So and then whenever a permanent leaves a battlefield, if it had counters on it, you get to transfer those to another permanent. So
Got it.
I think there's potential to like with resourceful defense, as long as it does say permanence, quick looking up of a card will reveal that.
Okay.
Be just a second.
Well,
But that means you could chain all of your sagas if it works the way that I'm thinking about it.
and
I still don't know what you're talking about. Balatho.
It was from New Capenna. So 2 in a white. Whenever a permanent you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, which it will, put those counters on target permanent you control. So yes, it does work that way, where you
Hilarious.
could literally once a saga finishes, you move all those counters to the next saga. That one chains procs
Has
Tom
to
Bombadil,
finish.
chains procs Tom Bombadil, chains, and then those will have resolved.
Do you get every ability? of
You would
that?
get every saga in your library.
let's go.
Yeah, let's go. But I mean, on a saga, say it's like you're on 1 and needs to get to 3. If you put 5 counters on, all of a sudden it just hits each one, right?
I don't know.
Because it'd be like, ba.
I mean, I feel like the design team isn't far off from printing an effect that says all sagas you have read ahead.
Ooh.
Right?
More saga support. I think it's a very fun mechanic. And like now that we're getting creatures that flip into it, or enchantments that flip into it, or whatever, it's just like we're exploring more and more. And then now we have commanders to frontline that. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
Moving on. Unless you got something.
No, I want to talk about the card you're about to talk about.
Lotho, Corrupt Sheriff. We've been talking about this a lot.
This little guy rips.
This guy rips. Ritter, you were talking about building his deck.
Yeah.
We're obviously all talking about putting in the 99 if you can afford it.
Yeah, if you want to read the card, just
Let's rattle it off. Okay, it is 2 mana card, a 1 white, 1 black for a halfling rogue 2/1. Whenever a player casts their second spell each turn, you lose 1 life and create a treasure token. That is fucking awesome.
That's great in the 99. My argument is it might be worth building as the commander because Orzhov doesn't have any especially tasty commanders or especially tasty commander partner combinations. Maybe Teversat Yoshimaru is a fringy thing, but at 2 CMC and you're creating treasure tokens, it's worth thinking about.
Bro, what's that party stacks deck we're talking
Nalia
about?
de Arnis.
Nalia de Arnis,
Yeah.
bro. This card loves that.
I was as soon as you said it's a rogue, I was like, he's thinking about
Nalia, bro. No, this is absolutely a great card, and I just think, I mean, Blue Farm is just gonna gobble this up, I think. But I think a lot of high color high color decks are gonna take advantage of this. Like, why would you not?
I mean, Nalia, I feel like there is a stacks build of that just needs a few pieces to get out of that fringy space.
It is one piece closer.
You've been playing Orzhov a lot, and I think Orzhov just has gotten better and better and better and better. You know, it was just like white bringing down black, which was a very strong color, and now all of a sudden black is supporting a very strong color of white that you now get to tutor all of your fucking awesome white cards.
Funny how the script reversed like that.
Yeah, and no, it's becoming much more viable, and this is a fun ass card.
You know what I love too? The typing of rogue, because for Nalia to complete your party, you have so many great clerics.
Too many fucking clerics.
Rogue might be the second most populated category for party. But still, if it's a rogue instead of a cleric, thank God.
Nalia is a rogue, so it does fit like when Nalia gets removed.
Your other party payoffs and everything.
This does allow like things like what's his face, the choose a background guy that attacks and gets treasures for
Barakos.
Barakos. Yeah, Barakos is great. Yeah.
You know, so like it allows you to continue proccing that, which I think is great.
My question is, why didn't we get any more party mechanics out of this set?
That's funny because there's.
I think they want to keep the IPs distinct.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think party is going to be limited to their forays into their D&D.
We just need more of it. We need some party love, you know.
That being said,
we're just party boys.
Lotho, we got word from our good buddy Margarita Pizza on the Discord server that it's time to buy on the Lotho because it went crazy at a CDH tournament this past weekend.
Yeah, it's a great card. I think it's really good.
Yeah, he was at SCG Baltimore, and he said just everybody was popping off with it. It is. I think it's very good, and we'll be seeing a lot of CDH decks and probably some other decks.
Like, I think you see it as I see it as a much cheaper Smothering Tithe. Like we talked about earlier with like Saruman. Whenever you cast your second spell, pretty much every player at the table is going to cast 2 spells unless something is limiting it, like a Deafening Silence or a Rule of Law.
And you know what, too? Orzhov, outside of rituals, does not have great ramp.
Yeah.
Man, these treasure tokens are really going to come in useful. There are so many times where, like I've built Nalia, I've built and stuff, and there's so many times where it just dawdles because your curve's not even that high, but you just don't have good ramp / good card draw to just hit those lands. That you have in other colors.
Here's something I want to point out. So we've been kind of going on this progression of 2 mana creatures that have the ability whenever a player or whenever somebody casts their second spell each turn, blank. So it started off with Ledger Shredder, which we figured out was not good enough because looting for 2 mana is not good enough.
Glad I sold them when I did.
Correct. Right? And then we're like, all right, Fairy Mastermind, clear a strict upgrade. You get to draw instead of loot. Not good enough.
Right.
We're not playing it. Nobody wants to play it anymore. Lotho now comes in offering the exact same line of text that whenever a player casts their spell each turn, the second spell each turn, do something.
Yeah.
But the treasure, I think, is just 100% enough to justify it.
And at the same time, if Lotho was 2 blue mana, he would be trash for this effect, I think.
Do you think just blue outpaces it as far?
Yeah, I think blue outpaces. I think it's the color combination plus treasures just being a really great effect.
Yeah, I just think I think we don't want that. The draw effects at that price point is what we've seen. Like we either want a better draw engine up front like Rhystic Study, or we want something cheaper like Mystic Remora.
We need something to generate mana in this
2-mana treasure machine, bro.
Yes.
Yep.
That has not happened yet.
You're likely that's what I was saying earlier with like saying that it's likely that a player casts 2 spells in their turn unless they're limited, is that now you are going 3 mana ahead potentially, and I think the chances of that are high.
Yep.
Like you lose 3 life, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Like
Guys, you can cast this turn 2 just without acceleration, and then your next turn 3, you just have the mana to add Naws without ritualing.
And let's
Yeah.
be clear, it's whenever a player casts their second spell. It's not even just your opponents. So
you too.
You can actually cast it and then drop a rock and get a treasure.
Wow. You actually get to ritual off
Yep.
pretty much every turn.
Yeah, and that's the thing about like Smuggler Share and like Monologue Tax and cards like that. It's when your opponents do.
Yeah. How many times have you like just been 1 mana short or 1 color off? And he's just like, "Well, did you cast 2 spells this turn? Fucking go get it, dude."
It's funny that Smuggler Share is ass for that reason.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I think I'm very hyped, and I will be going to pick up a few of these.
Yeah, terrific card.
I'm still waiting for the borderless foils to go on sale. They haven't yet.
Guys, I'm going to say something possibly controversial, definitely very brave. It's that Lotho is going to be probably the money card below Orcish Bowmasters when this all settles.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I feel that, dude. 100%.
Thank you for appreciating my bravery.
You are brave for saying that, and I see you.
I will say that it will be likely just as popular. I think that Orcish Bowmasters is just generally good.
Yeah.
And it will go into every black deck because that's how generically good it is, just like Opposition Agent. If it does not get banned, I am overreacting and it does not get banned, then this will definitely be in second place and it'll be very close second. Mm-hmm. So
Here's something I kind of want to talk about.
Sure.
Galadriel of Lothlorien.
Oh, I had that on my list.
How'd
as
I
well.
do? Did I do okay? Okay.
yeah, you did great.
Okay, awesome. So speaking of, Sauron and potentially, not even potentially, he is the best fucking tempting payoff for sure in the set. This one is worth talking about, I think. It's Simic, 1 green blue for an elf noble, 3/3, and finally an elf gets to do something cool that is not make more elves or make more mana.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever the ring tempts you, if you choose a creature other than Galadriel of Lothlorien as your ring bearer, scry 3, which is, I think, right about where scry starts getting interesting to me, is when I get to scry 3.
No, it's not bad at all.
For a 3-mana creature, too, not bad. Okay, and then whenever you scry, you may reveal the top card of your library. If a land card is revealed this way, put it onto the battlefield tapped. So that borderline reads like a Thrasios activation.
Yeah, I mean,
part of it.
There's lots of scrying that you can do, and there's also some other scry payoffs in this set, such as Elrond, Master of Healing. There's Elven Chorus, which is a pretty decent, like, scry 3 cost 1 green effect in this. I don't know if that one doesn't tempt you, right? No, Elven Chorus is the enchantment. There's Elven Farsight or something of that nature. But there's some good scry payoffs. I think it reads really good.
Yeah, we're seeing green-blue elf scry is kind of a thing in this set. But I think this is an interesting card.
Yeah, there's also, I think it's the Temporal Anchor or something that was printed in Brothers War that gives you some additional scry payoffs. It might be worth, throwing that crap together and seeing what happens.
I could see you just, like, incidentally scrying and then, like, just to be clear, when you scry, you resolve that ability, so then you could leave the land on top to then hit with Galadriel.
Yep.
And let's be absolutely clear, there's a card that Chris loves a whole lot that's really great in this deck. It doesn't say scry on it, but it does set you up for the trigger.
Is it Mary's Guile?
It is Mary's Guile!
Guile. And just to be clear, I do love that card.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great card.
Absolutely
Much better
good
than
card.
Sylvan Library.
And Sylvan Library is actually good in this deck too, because you don't need to pay the 8 life, or whatever. You can actually just pay 4 life or whatever, put the land back on top, and then scry 1. Because guess what? Opt is a card, and it's great.
Yeah.
You can actually put 2 back and then draw the top card and then reveal the top, and it's a land. Comes to the battlefield. Thrasios goes in this deck too, because it's just like scry 1, then do your stuff, and after that resolves, this is going to proc potentially getting you 2 lands in the process.
Okay, I would like to now talk about a devastating new upgrade to Winota.
Yeah, let's go.
Eowyn, Fearless Knight. 2 red, white for a human knight 3/4. With haste, whenever she enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls with greater power. So you get to remove anything that might be, causing some stink. And then legendary creatures you control gain protection from each of that creature's colors until end of turn. You play a lot of legendary creatures in that deck.
Definitely some Boros options to consider for Winota in this deck. I think it's just a matter of competing for slots.
Totally. And I think there's probably like 8 cards you could consider for Winota in this set that just came out.
Yeah, like Mary, Esquire of Rohan.
Oh,
what I'm looking at.
Here's the one that everybody has actually been talking about online for Winota is Theoden, King of Rohan. He's the 1 red, white, 2/3 human noble. Whenever he or another human enters the battlefield under control, target creature gains double strength.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But
so good.
Does it take the place of Blade Historian?
Exactly.
Or is it another Blade Historian? Because Blade Historian, in my opinion, is like one of the best win conditions in that deck. That comes out, Jeej.
Yeah, GG's. Yeah, you're right.
So
Your
this
history.
This is the second one at 3 mana, so like even just casting that doesn't feel bad. I think it's pretty good.
No,
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely options, and it's just a matter of like, well, looking at your slots. What do you want to put in at that CMC on the curve?
Yeah. And another legendary creature in the same wheel of color, Shadowfax, Lord of Horses. I just want to point out that Shadowfax truly does show us the meaning of haste. Quite flavorful.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, they threw a lot of meat to the Vorthos crowd.
They really
with
did.
this set.
Yeah, it's beautiful artwork and beautiful card.
Also potential Winota card.
And a potential Winota card because it has haste. Are there any other multicolored cards that you guys want to talk about?
I mean, there's cards we can talk about, but I think we
talked about all
we
the
hit
stuff,
the big ones.
the fun stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get your Lothos. Lotho? Lotho?
Lotho? I don't know.
I don't know.
Everyone's going to say it differently, and we're going to be those content creators that say it like idiots.
Yeah, let me just set the precedent right now for saying it wrong.
How do you say it?
Lotho.
Lotho.
Guys, I'm from New Jersey. I am blameless on any pronunciation. Not my fault.
All right. Are there any other topics we need to talk about?
Yes, there are actually.
What's up?
Make sure you like and subscribe and follow us on YouTube. You guys are fucking awesome. If you made it this far through the podcast, you're a real diehard fan, and we appreciate you.
You guys can look forward to us developing a live gameplay stream. We're also going to be recording gameplay and putting it up on the YouTube channel. So look forward to that. You can subscribe early so you can see it right away.
Yeah,
and hit that bell for
don't be one of those
notifications.
latecomers.
Oh, guys, I have something important too. Speaking of the Discord, I have to give a shout out to user K Mr. K, who was the person that put his Sam's Potatoes deck list is what put the idea in my head for Samwise Gamgee, and that is now the commander I'm hot on out of this set. So thank you. We love interacting with the Discord. It's actually super rad.
We've built so many decks already from just Lord of the Rings spoilers.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. I would love if we had like fervent conversations every single day. Let's do it.
100%.
Yeah, it happens almost every single day.
That's my favorite thing is I don't participate for a day, and then I look in, and it's still combo's still going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it.
So
Love you guys.
Make sure you stop through.
Thank you guys for listening to the MoxStars podcast.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Peace.